Hi friends, I'm here to do the rest of September, the end of September reading wrap up. So I didn't think I was reading that much in the end of September as it was going on, but apparently I did. I think I finished 5 books and DNF'd 1. Let's start with the DNF. So I ended up DNFing Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. I was having a hard time following this, and it's also way overdue at the library, so I'm just gonna maybe, if I decide to try Rachel Kushner again, I'll get it out again from the library. Then I finished O Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. This was for Shorty September, and I read this with my friend Andy. This is about Janet, who is the oldest daughter of a family that has, I think, like 5 kids. And it just seems like her parents don't like her very much. Or her mom doesn't. Her dad sort of does. And Janet, it seems like through no fault of her own, she ends up in these not great situations. But you could also argue that she's doing it for attention because one of her sisters is kind of like the perfect child. And anyway, this starts off with Janet's murder. That's not a spoiler. It's in the blurb. And we then look at Janet's life from the time she's born until her death at 16-ish. I found this book boring. It wasn't really what I expected, and now when I look back on it, what drew me to it was Maggie O'Farrell did the introduction, and Maggie O'Farrell says, you're gonna think this is a suspense, and it's not. I don't know why that just totally blew over my head, and I still thought it was going to be a suspense because the first scene is pretty intense. And I think that's probably all I'm going to take from this is that first scene. So I think it was a 3-star. Let me get out my notebook. 3-star. It was just an okay book. Then The Mammoth 600-page book that I buddy read with Melinda at A Web of Stories. We had a couple other buddy readers, but for one reason or another, they weren't able to finish the book with us. At least one we lost because it was so boring. This story, A Prayer for Omini by John Irving, basically talks about Johnny, our narrator, about his experience with his best friend, Owen Meany. And it really talks about friendship, family, who you are family by blood, but also found family who you kind of create your life around or bring into your life, I guess is a better way to say it. And faith. Owen Meany, which it says on the back, he believes he's God's instrument, and he is involved in very crucial events in Johnny's life, and that could in some ways, some circumstances could push them apart, but instead it brings them together. And Owen's family is kind of strange. We don't really know why they are like that. They don't Owen just doesn't want them around, and we don't know really why. And then Johnny's family really embraces Owen. So I liked the story. I liked those aspects of it. I liked the friendships and the family elements, the faith elements for sure. There were some parts of this that just didn't add anything to the story, and didn't need to be 600 pages. Could definitely done without some of the political rants that it went on. We have basically two timelines. There's Johnny and Owen when they're kids and when they meet, and then it's basically Johnny in, I think, the 80s, looking back on the situation and on his relationship with Owen Meany. And honestly, could have done without the 87 timeline. I just didn't think it didn't add much to the book. So there's that. Would I recommend this book? Because I always think about that. When I'm reading it, would I recommend it? If you have an urge to read a 600-page book, it's not a bad choice. But I'm not going to go out and say, hey, if you want to read a book about friendship, here you go. This isn't going to be my first choice for that. I think I mentioned in, I think it was my TBR when I was doing this, that this book is from college. I was supposed to read it for college, and I didn't, apparently. It started to fall apart while I was reading it. I did get a bigger copy, because this is a mass market paperback. I got a bigger copy from the library, but it was like the big copy. So it was either a really heavy hardback or mass market paperback. So I did end up reading the mass market paperback. I didn't break the spine, but I did break the front cover. I will probably end up keeping this. There are some really good lines in this, good things to think about. It's impactful, I think, for just looking at people for who they are on the inside and not necessarily what you see on the outside, I think is a big part of this book, and what connects Johnny and Owen. All right, so, did I say I gave A Prayer for Owen Meany 3 stars? 3 stars. It was a 4, I would say it was about a 3 to 4 star book until the last part of the book. I didn't really like it. I think Melinda liked the end of it, so it's just what I thought it was a little ridiculous, but it made more sense to her. I think by the time I got to the end of the book, I just wanted to be done with it, and had gone through several political rantings of Irving's that just kind of dulled me to my interest in it. The next one was my group read, or my book club book, and that was The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. I listened to this on audiobook, and the beginning part of this is about Mila, who is a Ukrainian historian, who becomes a sniper. And the beginning part is her becoming a sniper, getting involved in the war. This is a World War II book. And I would say the beginning part is pretty hard to read. It's just, and this was my first Kate Quinn, but from what I understand from others, this is, Kate Quinn doesn't hold back, and she lets you see the realness of the situations that these characters would have dealt with. And I have a number of my book club friends that decided not to continue with the book, and I totally respect that because of the violence in the beginning. It did make a turn for me. I almost DNF'd it. I just really didn't want to read another book about war, and that was mainly timing for me. A Prayer for Meanie goes into a little bit of the Vietnam War, and I've read a few others recently that talk about war, and I just didn't want to go to the violence. But it didn't last for very long, in my opinion. Mila then becomes a part of a delegate that goes to the U.S. to try and get support for their side of the war, their effort to defeat Hitler. And during that part, I went ahead and looked up the person that is the sniper, Mila, and I did not realize that she was a real person. And that, to me, kind of raises the level of the story. While it is fictional, there's a lot of it that can be verified. And I really like when authors take factual accounts and fictionalize them in a respectful way that holds true to the original and real story. And I think Kate Quinn does a great job of that. We get to see Mila as a woman in a time when women were not encouraged to do much in the war effort. You see her as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend, as a partner. There's so many aspects to Mila's personality that Kate Quinn did so well. I highly recommend this book. I think I gave it 4 stars. If you really want a dramatic reading that is not over the top and a strong female character, this is a great one to go to. The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. So after all that, I needed something a little fluffy and light, and so I picked up The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. Meg Schaefer wrote The Wishing Game, which I really enjoyed. It was a 5-star read for me, and I have really high hopes for The Lost Story. Then I heard some kind of mixed reviews about it in BookTube, which probably made me not rush to it, but I also have had plenty of other things to read since I got this. I got this in July of this year. I loved this book. I listened to the audiobook. It was really good. It's about Rafe and Jeremy, who went missing when they were teenagers for about, I think it says 6 months. And then they come back, and one of them has no memory of those 6 months. And then as they're adults, Jeremy becomes, I would say, kind of like a private investigator. He finds missing kids, and Emily comes to Jeremy to help find her sister. And so basically we get to see a little bit of what happened when Jeremy and Rafe were younger, just kind of recollections of that time, and kind of hear Emily's backstory and more about her sister and when her sister went missing. It's just a really beautiful story of, I would say, lost friendship and lost love, and really knowing what's true and following your heart. Yeah, that's kind of what I would say about this. I gave it 4.5 stars. There were a few parts of it that were kind of sluggish for me. But overall, it was a great book. All right, and then I finished one that I have been reading for a couple of months now, and that is Grief is Love, Living with Loss by Marissa Renee Lee. This, I took it a slow pace because it is a very heavy topic. I liked this book. I liked it. It follows Marissa as she loses her mom. She became kind of in her 20s, she became one of the caregivers for her mom who developed cancer at a young age, 50s maybe, I can't remember, 50s or 60s. But her mom was young, and kind of Marissa shares kind of her experience of grief during that time as someone in their early 20s. Navigating the different family relationships and the different professional work and social engagements that most 20-year-old people want to participate in. I think this is a great read for anyone dealing with grief, loss of a parent. So it is a short book. It's about 167 pages. And one of the last chapters I really resonated with me. And the chapter is called Legacy. When my mother was dying, the thing I feared most was how her death would change me. What was going to happen to me on the other side of this tragedy? Would it completely upend and alter my sense of self? I feared losing her would change how I saw the world and my place in it. During the final weeks and months, I felt like I was losing my identity. Up until that point, I had been at least partially defined by my mother, her illnesses, and my role as caretaker. Who would I be once she was gone? And she takes a look at this idea of legacy, and basically that the legacy it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific thing, like my person left $5 million to cure childhood cancer or something like that. It's the legacy that they, having been a part of your life, and how you go on from that point. Carrying out their, quote, legacy is carrying on things that they instilled in you. I gave it a 3-star. I think some of the ideas that she presented were not fleshed out well, and could have been. But overall, it's a great read for anyone going through grief. So that's it. That's what I read in September. Tell me what you read in September. Did you have any 5-star reads? Thank you for being here. If you would like to support my channel, please hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments if you have any exciting reads that you're looking forward to in October. It's fall season. It still doesn't feel completely like fall here, but that's okay. We're getting there. And I will see you all very soon. Bye.